Black and white shots from Ilford with 31 wins from 33 contests. The former middleweight champion of the world, Nigel!
Well, that really, he can set them alight, this fella. He captures the public imagination because he can punch, and the paying customers like that, don't they? Never know what's going to happen when Benn's around.
9 rounds, 2 ounces. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
So referee then Larry O'Connell. There are no judges, remember, for this one, so well, we won't get the confusions that we've had in recent fights, including Dan Sherry in the Eubank, of course. And Jim Watt and I thought that once, when that back header had happened, we thought Sherry was ahead on points, but we were outvoted on a split decision, and Eubank retained the championship. So there it is then, 10 scheduled. Well, Sherry might have tried to weigh up Benn, but Benn hasn't bothered to look at the video, he told me, of the Eubank Sherry fight. But I'll just take it as it comes.
Well, Benn's landed the very first punch that he's thrown, a little shot right, and Sherry came right off the stool right onto it. Didn't have the full power, luckily for Sherry, but Sherry looks a little bit reckless at the beginning here. He's charging into Benn. A little bit reckless against a puncher like Benn.
It's going to be a bit untidy, a bit needly. They might settle down in a round or two, Jim, if it goes that long.
Yeah, well, I expected the opposite from Sherry. I thought he would have started circling round the ropes. But maybe he feels the closer he is to Benn, the safer he's going to be. Well, we've got to say he started positively anyway.
It takes a bit of guts to get inside Benn's punches, but they can be less troublesome. It's when you pull away from Benn, he catches wings you with a punch, a long punch. Good shot, he throws the right hand there.
Certainly has the style to give Benn problems. He's difficult, he's awkward, he frustrates opponents. But I don't think he does anything well enough to trouble Benn seriously. I think once Benn warms up and gets a little bit of rhythm into his punching, I think he's going to see this man off.
Well, no sitting on the fence there with you, Jim. O'Connell will get this one under control. Remember, the referee didn't really get the Sherry Eubank fight under control. And a lot of people thought he was acting. It looked that way when he went down, Sherry, but in fact, he was in trouble, and his eyes dilated and everything, and he really was in trouble. He was swallowing his own blood.
I think this is the calmest opening round we've seen from Benn in a long time.
Yeah, I think it's Graham Mountain, his new trainer. Knows the game, he's a real skillful ex-amateur who fought Sugar Ray Leonard as an amateur. And of course, Sherry was with the Sugar Ray Leonard camp, but he still is to a degree, but not with the great Sugar himself. He's got his trainer in the corner, though, Pepe Correa. Well, there's no taunting from Sherry, as he did before. And he was very upset when he was accused of actual racial taunting. He said, that's the last thing I did with you, mate, and I deny that vehemently. Oh, well, all pals together. They weren't exactly like a couple of old gentlemen in the gymnasium in that opening round, Jim, and they just did a little armistice with a touch of gloves there at the end. I don't think that's going to keep up.
Well, it seems at least it shows a change in attitude in Sherry. I mean, before he seemed to spend all his time trying to annoy Eubank, but he seems to be a different fellow tonight.
They brought in a London assistant there, Arthur Arry, without an H. And that's Pepe Correa, who actually worked with Sugar Ray Leonard when he was 14 years old. And right above us there, Sherry. I hope he's accurate with that gargling. And that's Graham Mountain, as I said one time, London milkman, publican, and a very good teacher in the matchroom gymnasium at Romford. He's self-managed, actually, Benn now, but under the promotional Barry Hearn banner. So out for the second round then. Did you hear what the referee said then, Jim, as they came together? I missed that.
I'm not sure if he was telling him to tidy it up. I can't think of any other complaint he might have. It was a slightly untidy first round.
Yeah, use the word inside, so that's probably... yes, keep it clean inside. I think I read the lips there.
I think Nigel wants to get his punches off just a little bit quicker from now on. You know, he had a nice long look at Sherry in the opening round. He wants to get the punches off a little bit sharper, because if he allows Sherry to get as close as he is now, he's just going to spoil things all night long. That's probably the reason he's here, just to stop Benn from working.
It's good to see Benn doing a bit of boxing. Remember, he was an ABA champion.
We have called for Benn to do a bit more boxing, but not necessarily against a boxer, and that's what Sherry is. I think he wants to keep this man under pressure, force him into making some mistakes, show a feint, draw some leads, but just try not to allow him to get too close.
Oh, it was a good shot there, with left hand uppercut, almost a hook, and then he changed it to an uppercut. And he lost 2 decisions, remember, Sherry, of 20, and that was, of course, the Eubank versus Grant.
Well, again, Benn's got the right hand bang onto the target, not full power again. He's getting the right hand home.
Midway through the second round.
Sherry starting his tricks again. You know, if Benn comes in, he's leaning on the back of his neck, turning round, ending up behind him.
I like the way Benn just grinned at it there, Jim. He said, don't worry about that. If that's the best you can do, you're not going to bother me.
See, Sherry knows all the tricks. When he misses with a punch, he just lays the arms onto Benn and pushes him so that he can't come back with the counter punch. Then he goes behind Benn again. He knows all the little tricks, all the frustrating stuff. Benn's going to find it difficult to pin him down in the first few rounds.
He's got to keep himself a bit calm, though, Benn, hasn't he? As you say, throw the punches, but not actually... Well, you don't lose your temper in the ring. You get nailed easily that way. But the flailing Benn, well, that's out now. He is trying to pick punches all the time. Well, referee gave him plenty of chance to fight inside there, and then had to call break when it started to get untidy again. So coming up the end of the second. And lots of cheers there. I must say, Jerry's corner landed a right-hander right on the bell, and the American trainer, Pepe Carrera, there he is there in the ring. Really enjoyed that, and he had plenty to say too before the fight, and well, it just riled the Benn camp a bit. Had 2 fights, as I said, since he fought Eubank last February in Brighton. Defeated Gary Meckerson for the Canadian Championship. That was over 12 rounds on points, and then lost to Otis Grant to retire. He retired in 7. The referee just visited the corner there, obviously asking him to tidying up. Jim, it's annoying him there, getting around the back.
Yeah, well, I think Sherry will be quite happy. He's managed to nullify a lot of Benn's work with some of that awkward stuff, and he'll probably continue to do that as long as he'll get away with it.
Well, the old days of the early stuff, 13 in the first and 8 in the second by Benn, are over now. But he has scored 44 knockdowns in his career. It's incredible, that. Oh, this is the old blasting Benn by the look of it.
Benn wants to step the pace up, but he doesn't want to become wild. Those were kind of swinging punches, not the punches we expect from him. But he is going to have to step the pace up, force this man into making some mistakes.
This Canadian, though, he's just not only shrewd, Jim, he's a bit durable too. He takes a fair shot.
Yeah, he's good at what he does, Reg. He knows how to mess people about. He's an intelligent thinking fighter, and he's certainly paying Benn lots of respect. He's not staying in the one spot for a second. As soon as Benn gets close, he's going right up against Benn, putting his chin over his shoulder. Benn's going to have to punch as he moves in. You can't let this fella see. Here he goes again. He can't allow Sherry to get close. He's going to have to punch as he moves in.
Well, Ben not a bit amused by that, and quite rightly, Larry O'Connell. Oh, there we go now. So you want it that way? All right, let's forget it. This is where you need a strong referee, and Larry O'Connell's been around. He's on the WBC world list. Around the world, he's refereed and judged. And, of course, former boxer.
That was a good shot, Reg. Caught Sherry high. That was a nice punch. Ben just wants to show a little feint and draw some mistakes from him.
So they've often both thrown right hands at the same time, Jim. It's just a question of who connects first.
Well, I think Ben can certainly afford to trade with this fellow. But as soon as Ben allows them close up, he just wants to spoil.
Oh, low punch there. Yep, quite right. He deserves a warning for that. That's the way to shoot the right hand over the top of the left lead. He did it well there.
Well, most of Ben's success has come from his right hand, so he wants to start favouring that now. He's got that few more inches to get the right hand in. Sherry's nullifying Ben's left hand work his jab, but the right hand is working.
Made great fuss about the size of the ring, the Canadian camp, and they had to dismantle it and put it back up again. It was 16 foot odd in inside measurement, but the management wouldn't go for it, so they made it 18 foot. But he's not really using it enough, skirting around the perimeters, Sherry, to have bothered to do all that, to hold the show start up. Oh, what a punch. Well, the right hand was always coming. He is not going to make that. Now, this fella's never been counted out in his life, but his legs are gone, and he stopped it in the third round. The perfect finish there by Nigel Benn. He took his time a little bit. There was always a bit of quality about his punching tonight, and they're invading the ring as they always do. And he deserves the plaudits, Ben, because that's one of the most complete professional jobs he's done, because, Jim, this fella takes a real good punch.
And that was a cracking punch, Reg. That's the only kind of punches that Ben throws, is the good punches. He had a little bit more space with the right hand to get the punches home. Sherry was nullifying most of the left hand work, and there it went. Just missed his whisker a couple of times earlier, but that one was bang on the chin.
So the doctor's had a quick look at Dan Sherry. He can't have any objections this time, as he did last time. And the formal hand raising, of course, for the newspaper photographers more than anybody, that picture. 32nd win now, out of 34 fights for Nigel Benn. Assistant Peter de Freitas in the corner there, and everybody very delighted, and rightly so too, because that really puts Ben back in that world title picture. He needs to have a championship tag. Jim, let's have another look at this.
Yeah, well, Ben was very dangerous with the right hand all the way through. The first punch of the fight was a right hand, similar to that, not with the same power, but against one of the most difficult men in the game to look good against, Nigel's manager. That was a beautiful punch to finish with.
Went down there, as though somebody had whipped the carpet from under his feet there, Sherry. He really knew he'd been tagged there with a dynamite punch. This fella can bang a bit, and I must say, in his old age, at 28, well, he's getting a bit of boxing ability and maturity and a bit of skill to go with it, and that's what you need at world level. Oh, and I tell you what, look at the size of those shoulders. He's got the body to go with it. Big night for Nigel Benn at Alexandra Palace. So with that celebration in the ring, Jim, we'll hand back to Jim Rosenthal. And
Hi, Mum. I've done it. Right. That punch is the sort of punch that makes Nigel Benn so exciting.
Well, you know, I was trying to be very relaxed. I mean, if I come out there throwing, he would have just clung on to me. So I was just taking my time, trying to pick my shots. But you know, thank you. He's very hard to hit, elusive. But when I tried to catch him downstairs, I could hear him. And I heard him started breathing heavily, and I was taking my time. I just felt so relaxed.
Right. It happened very quickly. Take us through it.
Well, I was waiting for the right hand to land. I mean, I was trying to catch him all night, but he knew what he had to avoid, and he was doing it very good. But I know it was only a matter of time before I caught up with him.
You keep having different fights. You've had a tall guy, you've had a short guy, and this guy would have made it very difficult. He was a real spoiler, turning around.
Yeah, he was, you know, and I knew everyone was telling me he was going to do that, so I wasn't going to start pushing around, burning myself up. But in a minute, I'm just going to have a glass of sherry, and then that'd be good night.
Not time for jokes, this. That was a bad joke, that, but you fought very well tonight.
You've told a lot of bad jokes in your time, Gary.
Right. Now, how aggrieved do you feel that Dan Sherry being promised a fight with Eubank if he beat you tonight by the promoter on the right here, Barry Hearn, and yet Eubank clearly does not want to fight you. He's made that clear to me as well.
Well, first of all I do, I feel very, very sorry for Eubanks at this present moment. I sincerely do. And I don't want to fight him, not until he gets his act together. I'm not saying it's his fault. I mean, you know...
Yes, but he gave you the chance. You gave him the chance to win the title, and now whatever's happening to him at the moment, he doesn't want to fight you.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, he said, this is one thing I don't understand, he says he wants to, you know, make as much money as quick as possible and get the hell out of the game. Why is he having all these fights where he can have one fight with me, and then that's it? He either carries on, but if he fights me again, he knows he'll be a rich man. So, I'm saying this to you, Chris, if you want a big payday, let's get it on. Let's give the British public what they want. It's one thing with me, that's what I like doing, pleasing the public. And so do you, so let's mean you get it on.
How frustrated are you, just before I move on to Barry, how frustrated are you that you're not fighting Eubank? You keep saying you're going for other titles, but this is the one you want, isn't it?
It's the one I want, you know, but the thing I want, I do want a title because I feel naked. And I gave Eubanks a shot, and I expect him to give me one back in return. Because the thing about it, I knew why I lost to Chris. He prepared like a champion. I didn't.
Well, you're a different man these days.
Yeah.
Can't criticise you tonight, so let's move on to Barry Hearn.
Makes a nice change.
Yeah, well, he was struggling a bit in sorting out the spoiling, but what a punch to finish it.
Well, that's box office punch, and that's what people come to see Nigel Benn and why they tune in live and exclusive on ITV. Yeah, all right, I admit it was very impressive, you know. But he's been a very relaxed character the last couple of months, and there's been all this, the X-rated violence is in there welling up underneath what is a very nice exterior.
You keep promising people like Sherry fights against Eubank. Why can't you promise Ben a fight with Eubank?
Well,
I mean, this is, you know, you're being used here by him.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. Like all good promoters, you know, we always use boxers, you know that.
What's the matter with opinion
One thing
about
I
good
would like to say, I would like to say, he has got me a world title. That's all I wanted him to do, is get me a world title, and that's what he's done.
We have a world title fan for Nigel, because the great thing about Nigel Benn now,
well, tell us about it.
He can fight for any one of the 4 divisions. The WBA would like him to fight
What world title have you got for him?
Gary, you can't pressurise me into making an on-the-spot.
Well, you can't make these claims in front of a live audience without telling us what it is.
Nigel Benn
what
will
is the
fight for a world title.
Please tell us what the fight is.
30th of May.
We have 6 months. We have 6 months, and we will.
Well,
get
what are you
Nigel
aiming
Benn.
for?
We're aiming to put a belt around Nigel Benn.
Which one? There's 4 versions.
WBC,
The
anything.
WBC is our favourite to go for. The WBO is possible because he's going to be ranked number 1, and Eubank's going to have to
But let me tell you this: you keep teasing us with the Eubank Ben return. We all want to see it.
Gary,
when
I'm going to
is it
tease
going to
you all
happen?
the time because at the moment I like your style, but you don't pay enough to know. You're going to find out in time.
I tell you what, we paid plenty for a 3-round fight tonight, but it was a great finish.
Plenty of value for money, though.
We got to.